All right, then, we're going to pull an utter stunt today. This story has everything you could want in a dramatic piece: workplace issues, moral dilemmas, and even cult-like tendencies. I can see it all. Yeah, this one's got it all. Daystar Television Network is the target of a lawsuit. Joni Lamb is the head of the Christian TV station. An ex-employee named Karen is some shocking allegations in her lawsuit. It certainly enlightened me. The scene needs to be set now. Daystar Television Network is airing. They may not have widespread recognition. Would you be able to review it quickly? Yes. When it comes to Christian media, Daystar is a household name. Many people can see their TV shows and read their articles on their website. At issue here is the legal representation of Joni Lamb. Daystar was co-founded by her, and she now serves as president. Pretty famous among evangelicals. Here we have a famous Christian network, and then this lawsuit surfaces, claiming that they weren't exactly, what do you call it, following the golden rule. Indeed, the central argument in this matter is that in-house psychologist Anna Kendall gave Joni Lamb access to sensitive employee information. Hold on a second. The therapist allegedly spilled the beans to the boss about confidential client information? The facts of the case indicate that. Yes. And as someone with experience in the industry, I can tell you that raises a lot of legal and ethical concerns. Consider the consequences of your doctor disclosing all of your therapy sessions to your supervisor. It sounds like a nightmare come true. Before we dive into the moral and legal questions, let's take a brief look at Karen's lawsuit. Can you tell me more about it? What Karen means is that Joni Lamb was very interested in her employees' private lives, particularly their relationships. Daystar employee, who was 15 years Karen's junior, was seeing her. Claims state that Joni Lamb advised Karen to end the relationship due to their age difference. To begin, there was the counselor's potential security breach. Then there's the purported effort to cap how many dates employees can have. From your perspective, are there circumstances in which it is acceptable for a boss to become so involved in an employee's personal life? Actually, bosses shouldn't pry into employees' private lives unless it compromises their performance on the job or creates an unpleasant work environment. Disclosing an employee's dating status is typically overkill, but there are instances when a boss must intervene, such as in cases of obvious conflict of interest or when an employee's actions endanger others. Even more intriguing is the fact that the case of Joni Lamb may be operating under dual standards. Is that right? Please explain. Surprisingly, Joni Lamb's daughter has tied the knot with a man 15 years her senior. It would be unfair to label Karen's relationship as unhealthy solely on the basis of their age difference. Holy cow, it certainly complicates matters. Daystar may not have placed a high value on personal boundaries, which led to concerns about potential privacy invasion and relationship bias. What piqued my interest was the association with cult-like conduct. Things become extremely challenging at that point. Take care not to offend anyone by using the word cult, as it has specific meanings to various individuals. But I find it intriguing that the case doesn't merely use that word carelessly. The article goes into detail about the purported rituals practiced at Daystar and draws parallels to the way cults function. For those unfamiliar with cults, could you please explain a few points? In your opinion, what are the telltale symptoms of a cult-like atmosphere? In reality, this idea of power is crucial. Many cults exert extreme control over their adherents' daily lives. Think about it. Their principles, their connections, and their finance. They could isolate members from their loved ones, create an intimidating independent group dynamic, and employ pressure tactics to ensure that everyone fits in. Do you perceive any potential links now that you've considered Daystar and the accusations that have been aired? Again, we must exercise caution before drawing any firm conclusions, but there are certain facts that raise red flags. There was an air of secrecy surrounding the case, allegations that the counselor may have misused private information, and restrictions on employees' ability to date. All of these things may be indicative of cult-like behavior. I can see how that would work. So, you mentioned power, manipulation, and isolation as aspects of our own jobs. How can we The listeners perhaps more subtly discern these details. How can we identify, for instance, whether certain peculiarities in an organization's culture should be considered warning signs? I believe we should all give some thought to that excellent question. Not every shadowy organization with a robed boss will be chanting on a mountaintop. There are instances when things like this are far more subtle. Please fill us in on the situation. In the workplace, what are some red flags that need our attention? In what ways can you tell when something isn't right? How arguments are handled is something to observe. Workers in a positive workplace should not be afraid to voice their opinions or ask questions. Conversely, conformity and rule following may take center stage in a more regulated environment. Some employees may be too timid to speak up, or they may hastily agree with the boss regardless of their true feelings. I understand. Pay attention to the vibe and see if people are comfortable being themselves. Very well. A lack of transparency or an abundance of secrets could also be cause for concern. Something may be amiss, for instance, if decisions are being made in secret for no apparent reason, or if people are being kept in the dark about certain matters. We have already covered the minor indicators. Quickly, let's return to Daystar. The plaintiffs in the case claim that Joni Lamb tried to influence her employees' marital status and social circles by telling them who they could hang out with. What a severe setting, even for a sacred one. Indeed, it prompts contemplation of the boundaries separating one's personal beliefs from one's professional conduct. Workers' right to private in matters of marriage and other personal relationships is safeguarded by law, so long as such relationships do not pose a material threat to their employment. I understand. When dealing with religious groups, the law seems to become more complicated because different groups may have different views on how the law should be applied. A valid point was raised by you. Maintaining a balance between a company's religious freedom and its employees' rights isn't always a picnic. These cases can be particularly challenging from a legal standpoint. Our focus has largely been on Joni Lamb. Anna Kendall, the counselor, is she still with us? The case accuses her of violating her client's privacy by disclosing personal information to Joni Lamb, which puts her in a very awkward position. If those accusations are true, do you know of any ethical or legal issues she could... There are stringent privacy regulations that advisors must adhere to, as we have previously discussed. Actually, these regulations are frequently more stringent than those meant to safeguard attorneys and their client. There will be serious legal ramifications for betraying that trust, and it is a terrible thing to do. Will you be able to elaborate on this further? In particular, what are some possible outcomes for her? Certainly so. Most importantly, we need to know what happened and how severe the breach was. However, she runs the risk of facing consequences from her license board. That might lead to a reprimand or even the revocation of her nursing license. She may face criminal charges in extreme cases, such as when it is discovered that she intentionally disclosed private information for her own benefit or the benefit of another party. That's quite the gamble. I agree with that. Trust is the cornerstone of the doctor-patient relationship. When trust is broken, it's very difficult to make it whole again. She risks having her reputation severely damaged in addition to facing legal and business consequences. It serves as a cautionary tale about the inherent dangers of doing work whose primary objective is to aid others. Having moral standards and holding people accountable is crucial for ensuring that reliable individuals are acting ethically. The current situation with Daystar is both fascinating and terrifying. It's not merely juicy office rumors. It concerns the ethics of power and the possibility of abuse, even in supposedly moral settings. Keep that in mind. It is important. No matter the nature or outward appearance of a group, these issues can arise, leading us to believe that they are universal. It is important to be prepared to investigate allegations more thoroughly and give more serious consideration when they arise. Lastly, what are the most crucial takeaways from this in-depth exploration? From this unfortunate event, what lessons can we all take away? The most crucial takeaway, I think, is that we should all be more vigilant about monitoring our own work environments. We run the risk of missing any warning signs. Is there anything we can do to foster a more moral and trustworthy work environment? Certainly so. Finding out more and getting involved are the initial steps. Learn the ins and outs of your company's policies and your rights as an employee. Observe the company culture, particularly the way employees interact with one another and complete tasks. The counsel is sound. Also, keeping an eye out for those warning signs you mentioned earlier seems crucial. Things like the level of candor, the ease of expressing one's opinions, and the handling of conflicts are examples of this. Very well. Additionally, feel free to inquire about anything. When you notice someone behaving badly or something doesn't feel right, you shouldn't ignore it. Speak up. You can confide in a trusted coworker, your supervisor, or even someone outside of work, such as human resources or an ethics hotline. We can all learn from this and do our part to create a more trustworthy and accountable work environment. We can't afford to assume that things are okay or that other people will handle them. I agree with that. It is our moral obligation to express our opinions and fight for justice. In times when you feel pressured to sacrifice something meaningful, or when you witness something that crosses the line, please know that you are not alone. Someone can lend you a hand. It could be a legal aid organization, a therapist who focuses on employment issues, a trusted friend or relative, etc. That holds great significance. Even though it may be intimidating to go up against a powerful entity, there is assistance available. Those who are courageous enough to speak out and reveal the truth to those in positions of power are frequently the ones who initiate change. No matter how quiet you may feel your voice to be, it is important. Looking into the Daystar claims in such detail has enlightened me in many ways. We are reminded that not everything we see is true. The ability to think critically, ask probing questions, and challenge established norms, no matter how unpleasant the response, is essential. Sure, I completely agree. Even though the case is ongoing, it has already raised some serious concerns regarding workplace ethics, responsibility, and power. Such conversations should continue. I thought that was superb. You have my gratitude for actually taking the time to listen. We hope that you have gained some useful insights and ideas from this in-depth exploration. Your ability to make a difference both at work and in other areas should never be underestimated. Your presence is appreciated.